Hello! Read it here. Today we're going to read a story from our /Entitle parents. Now, for our first story. Entitle mother yells at me for wearing a tank top on a school trip because her son shouldn't see that. 1. Most of the girls were wearing them because it's 100 degrees. 2. I'm a teacher. The players are Opie me, entitled mom, Mrs. T, my teacher, and Mrs. A, another teacher. I've been student teaching this spring in a 6th grade class. It's been a stressful semester, but a good one. Since day one, I have been treated 100% like a colleague and equal by my teacher and her grade level partners. I'm very baby-faced and don't always look like I'm in my 20s. But I know these kids very well. I subbed for them a lot last year and in this past fall. So they already have respect for me and we have a decent relationship. This week we're on a camping trip with 4 total classes. I finished student teaching, but my teacher invited me on as a teacher to get the experience. We mostly hang in a medical lodge and make sure kids take their meds each day. Easy gig after months of teaching. The kids are happy to see me. Anyways, we arrived at camp. I rode on the bus with my teacher. 2 of the other teachers drove their cars with student luggage, and so did some parents. I got off the bus and started to head down to the lodge with the other teachers for our meeting with the camp director and the counselors. I stopped off to fill my water bottle before heading down. As I finished up, a mom came up to me. I smiled and was about to greet her. "You can't wear that." "Excuse me, young lady. That is so inappropriate for a school setting. You're going to distract my son and all the other boys. I'm going to have to ask you to change as soon as we get to our cabins." For reference, I was wearing jeans, a black undershirt, and a tank top with thick straps that covered my bra. You literally only saw my black undershirt that kept my bra from being seen through my shirt. Oh, and it was 100 degrees Fahrenheit. I let out a small chuckle. I thought it was a silly mix-up we could laugh about later. Nope, that set her off. "Don't you dare laugh. I'm serious. Who is your teacher? You are so disrespectful. No wonder you're dressed like that, trying to get the boys' attention, I bet." I put on my best polite teacher dealing with parent smile. "Whose parent are you?" She told me. Her kid was a troublemaker from another class. "Mrs. EM, I don't know if you're aware of this, but I'm not a student. I'm a teacher, and the camp's dress code allows my students to wear tank tops, so do not ask them to change." "Now you're lying to me. Where's your teacher? I'm getting you sent home." One of my teacher's partners, Mrs. A, overheard the yelling and came over, also in a tank top. "Is there something you need, Ms. Opie?" I shook my head. "No, I was just introducing myself to Mrs. EM. She didn't know Mrs. T had a student teacher this year." Mrs. A nodded earnestly. "Ms. Opie has been such an asset to all of us this semester. Your son actually got a few science lessons from her this year. She's going to be a great teacher." EM was absolutely red in the face. Later that afternoon, we brought all the parents down to our air-conditioned lodge to talk them through the week ahead. Mrs. T, who is kind of our grades team captain, introduced me to the parents. Everyone except EM was happy to meet me, and a few even said their kids loved having me as one of their teachers. The best part of the week so far was when her son ran up to me at dinner and asked in front of his mom, "Ms. Opie, can you teach 7th grade next year so you can be one of my teachers? I'm going to miss you." Let's hear from the comment section. Comment 1. That boy sounds so sweet. Sad his mom is like that though. Are you going to be teaching there again? Because it sounds like all the students, staff, and parents enjoyed your teaching. Comment 2. EM, where is your teacher? Opie, I am the teacher. Invisible confusion. Comment 3. My son's school sent out a letter before the school year with a blurb about dress code. Elementary school, instructing that girls weren't allowed to show their shoulders because it distracts the boys. I was that parent that wrote the teachers and the principal to have them change it. They don't have AC, they are kids and aren't trying to be sexy. The boys could show their shoulders, but the girls couldn't. The most ironic thing about it all was that at the ice cream social the day before school, a bunch of teachers were wearing appropriate summer teaching outfits with their shoulders showing. They changed the lingo, thankfully. We are literally teaching little girls that there is yet another thing wrong with their bodies. to cover their shoulders so that the boys can learn. It got me all kinds of worked up. Comment 4. The best part of the week so far was when her son ran up to me at dinner and asked in front of his mom, "Ms. Opie, can you teach 7th grade next year so you could be one of my teachers? I'm going to miss you." That one I will call karma. Now, for our second story. Entitled parents think they are entitled to their adult daughter's medical records to help them slut-shame her. In healthcare, one of the most difficult things to deal with are family members of patients. They are understandably angry, upset, grieving, devastated, and often feel helpless. Most of the time, I try to understand this and not get too annoyed when family cause problems. But these parents were on another level. One of my patients was an 18-year-old woman who had a pelvic infection. She got very sick, required a moderate stay in hospital. She was a dream patient, open, honest, and generally a lovely person. Her parents were none of these things. Every day, they would come in and start demanding this, that, or the other thing from the nurses on the wards. They wanted an extra bed in the room so the mother could stay overnight. Honestly, it's COVID times. You're lucky you're even allowed to visit. In many places, no visitors are allowed. You can't stay overnight. They were rude to the student nurse who was doing their daughter's OBS, to the point that the charge nurse moved the student nurse to a different set of patients to get her away from them. But when the doctors were around, they were the sweetest people you ever met, right up until we were out of sight, or we said no to one of their requests. They were disruptive, loud, and just generally obnoxious people. Thankfully, their daughter was aware of their shitty behavior and had informed us that she didn't want them to be told anything about her condition unless she approved it. She was a legal adult, so she was entitled to her privacy. This wasn't a huge issue to begin with, as she shared most of the details with them. But then her mother Googled pelvic infections and discovered that sometimes they can be caused by sexually transmitted infections. Dramatic music intensifies. As far as she was then concerned, we had screwed up and gotten the diagnosis wrong, because there was no way there was any possibility that her angel had even thought of having sex with a boy. They demanded to see their daughter's medical records so that they could prove that we were lying about the infection. Politely telling them to fuck off was the highlight of my week. Unfortunately, that wasn't the end of it. They came in the next day with legal papers trying to demand we hand over the medical records. Turns out they'd lied to the lawyer because the papers were for a minor still under guardianship of the parents, not a grown-ass woman. They then threatened to sue each of us individually. This isn't America. You can't just sue doctors randomly. They then tried to get some crackpot alternative doctor in to check her hymen. Thankfully, the daughter screamed bloody murder when the guy tried to examine her, which resulted in me getting to watch security escort and trespass the lot of them off the premises. I honestly hope she presses charge for that. Let's hear from the comment section. Comment 1. Parents examining their daughter's hymen has to be one of the worst psycho thing to do. Holy fuck. Comment 2. I'm no expert, but that sounds like something that should be a crime, but only is in some more progressive states. Similar to the law that only exists in some states that says sending a dick pic or other naked picture to someone who doesn't want one is the equivalent of flashing them on the street, a sex crime. However, if you want to get technical, burglary is entering a building with the intent to steal or commit assault, and since sexual assault is a branch of assault, that's a technicality that could be used, but it's also not easy to prove that the asswipe would have proceeded without consent of the daughter, unless he actually did. Source: literally nothing. I'm talking out of my ass as a Californian with a citizen's understanding of laws. Take what I say with a whole shaker of salt. Comment 3. Yikes, even in 2020 people still think a hymen is a sign of virginity. There are a lot more ways to break it other than sex, and sometimes not even sex breaks as far as I know. Edit. It's scary I got 1,000 likes on this comment in less than one day. 2,000 likes. At 3,000 now. Also, I noticed horseback riding seems to be one of the top ways to break your hymen, followed by riding a bike. I've never done either. Now, for our third story. Entitled parents thinks they rented the whole park. I'm at a city park with my kids. We've been to this park a bunch. There's this one spot where there's a rocky hill, all tree covered. Nice and shady on a hot day. There's a playground and a pavilion at the top of the hill. We get up there, and I immediately notice loud noises, and I'm having to step over cables and extension cords. Someone rented the pavilion and set up not one, but 3 bounce houses around it. Fucking great. So I have to give a disappointing news to my kids that even though they are surrounded by bounce houses, they cannot play in them since this is a private party. But they are free to go hit the playground. Everyone is cool. I sit on a bench as my kids go to town on the fake pirate ship when I hear, hey. That's when Entitle Dad, doing his best to imitate the situation from Jersey Shore, walks up to me and informs me that the playground is closed for a private party. I look at him and inform him that the public park does not close for private parties, and it sounds like he rented the pavilion nearby, which is fine, but doesn't give him exclusive use of the neighboring playground. He storms off and returns with a rental agreement and shoves it in my face, telling me to get my fucking kids and leave. Right, so rental agreement is very clearly for the pavilion. All for the grand sum of $35 for 4 hours. How could any sensible adult think that $35 granted you exclusive use of a public playground? Moreover, why is it so important for you to have exclusive use of a public playground? I, again, point out to him that he rented the pavilion, not the park, and my kids won't go on his bounce houses and we won't go into his pavilion, but the playground is fair game for everyone. He begins hurling threats, and I'm weighing just taking my kids and leaving to avoid this asshole. Then I decide I need to take a stand on principle. So I tell him to fuck off and proceed to use my phone to find the phone number for the park office. Our county staffs our parks. During the summer months, they employ park rangers who have peace officer authority. I call the park ranger and tell him that there is trouble up at this shady playground, and they need to come right away. Sure enough, as I'm getting off of the phone, Dolph returns with 2 of his meathead friends to tell me that they are ejecting me from the park. No, you're not. And if you touch me, I'm calling the cops and pressing charges. No anger, no rage. With this promise of action, however, one of them kind of widens his eyes and steps back, saying to his friend, just leave them alone, man. This guy, for some reason, does not want the police coming, and it is very obvious. The ringleader won't back down, however, and tries his best to get in my face, scream, and yell. He grabs my arm. I remove his hand. All of this just as I see the ranger pull up, yell for everyone to step back from one another and come over. This smug fucker shoves the rental contract into the chest of the ranger, telling him that I'm trespassing, and he rented this space for the day for his kid's party. Now, normally I don't like posturing by law enforcement, but here was pretty amusing. Ranger, touch me again and I'm arresting you. Reads contract. This is for renting the pavilion. You have use of the pavilion, but the playground is open for public use. Hands it back. Also, your permit doesn't allow you to set up bounce houses. Where did you plug these in? Ranger follows the extension cords and sees that they ran them to the nearby public bathrooms. There was an outdoor outlet. It was locked. This dude cut the lock off so he could plug his shit. Ranger comes back with a broken lock. Did you cut this lock? It was like that when I found it. Really? Because it was intact this morning. So some random person cut this lock, and you just happened upon it within the last 2 hours. I guess. Long story short, he let them stay and let them keep tape bounce castles because he didn't want to ruin a kid's party. He wrote the guy a citation for the broken lock and the unauthorized power use and banned him from the park for the remainder of the season after the party. Amazingly, this entire event was lost on my children, who barely noticed anything was going on, likely because of the compressor noise. Let's hear from the comment section. Comment 1. That park ranger had good sympathy. He didn't want to ruin the kid's party, but he still punished the guy. Comment 2. At least one dude, regardless of reason, had the sense to step back and try to de-escalate. Comment 3. Zhang. For being surrounded by bounce houses, this dude sure didn't have any joy in his life. One might say there was no spring in his step after the ranger got there. Comment 4. I guess it depends on the cop and the local laws, but I'm pretty sure if that happened where I am, they would have been forced to take down the bounce houses and unplug them at the very least. Doubt they would have made them stop the party, but those bounce houses would be long gone. Who the hell thinks they can rent an entire public park? Now, for our fourth story. Entitled kid chokes me while his mom is watching, then tries to make me give him my PS4 because I punched him. This is my first story here. Please be gentle. Also, this story is more about the kid than the parent, but the parent was supporting the behavior, so... Our cast: entitled kid, obvious. Entitled mom, obvious. Me, super obvious. Neighbors 1 and 2. Two neighborhood kids. Note that the neighbors are actually pretty cool. The entitled kid was just older than them, and so had some authority. And so it begins. One summer day last year, I just turned 14. I was playing some basketball with these two kids from my neighborhood in their driveway. Their family is pretty rich, so they have a fully paved driveway big enough to be a sizable court. It's just me and them for about half an hour, until Satan's son himself came over from down the street. This kid is the really stereotypical little shit who made the select soccer team 3 years ago and still thinks that he runs the place. So we let him join the game, and everything is fine for a bit. I'm a little bit on the ahem bigger side, but I'm really strong, so I play really well as a center, posting up in that. And then entitled kid is guarding me, and he's getting worked. He's shorter and not as strong, so he's getting dominated. Here's the major incident. I'll just grab a loose ball, and I'm running back toward the basket. The other kid gets back before me and stops my drive, so I start to back him down again. He must have just been really frustrated by him not getting a chance on defense, so he thinks up a plan. At this point, I was wearing a hoodie, and the fucker grabs my hood from behind and pulls as hard as he can. I, and not expecting my airflow to be cut off, especially while I'm breathing hard, start to panic. I can't shake him off of my back. I don't know how long he's hanging on, but it felt like a whole 45 seconds. That may not seem like that long, but I'm freaking the fuck out, so it feels like forever. An eternity later, his grip loosens, and I finally get him off. I'm fucking fired up, so I punch him right in the nose, definitely not as hard as I could, but it certainly would have hurt a lot. This little shit, however, he drops like he's out cold. Meanwhile, I'm on my knees trying to get my breath back. He's bawling his eyes out, he's rolling and screaming and all that, being the melodramatic turd that he is, but his mom is running over, and it was that moment where I knew I was fucked. Now, sometime between when he started and when I socked him, his mother came out, but she's the typical, I want to speak to the manager, white upper middle class mom who volunteers to be the head of the PDA every year and goes to Starbucks 20 times a day, and the EK is very much her son. Entitled mom. OH my god, redacted. Are you okay? What did you do to him? Me. He just nearly choked me out, so I punched him. Entitled mom. Why would you do that? You're so much bigger than him. Me. But he was chalking me out. Entitled mom. Come on, dude. You gotta be more mature about this. Me. What do you expect me to do? Apologize to him for making him choke me. This whole thing goes on for a while until the neighbors step in to try to protect me. Neighbor 1. Opie really didn't do anything wrong. Neighbor 2. Yeah, he didn't even hit him that hard. Entitled mom. But Opie shouldn't be hitting people in the first place. Especially not my son. Yes, she actually said, especially not my son. Neighbor 2. But it was basically a trade-off. He... Entitled mom. Why are you guys trying to protect him? You should probably go inside. You don't know what you're talking about. They keep trying to help me out, but to no avail. This just goes around for another 5 minutes before entitled kid finally gets up and limps. Yes, limps back to his house. I go home because I'm sick of this shit and I'm tired. The next day, I try to go back over, but the entitled kid is there already. Neither of his parent cars are there, so I assume that he's staying at the neighbor kid's house until they come back. I decide to go back inside because I don't want to interact with him. A couple hours later, entitled kid shows up at our door with his mom standing at gate of our fence. Entitled kid, hi OP, I was just coming over to say sorry for choking you yesterday. I won't ever do it again. Me, okay. Thanks, I'm sorry that I punched you. At this point, my mom comes to see who I'm talking to, and she asks what's going on. Entitled mom pipes up and says, Entitled mom, we are here for your forgiveness gift. Me, my what? Entitled mom. Your forgiveness gift? It's a tradition in our family that the person who apologizes last has to give the other person something to make up for it. My mom, excuse me? What's going on? I explain what happened, and as I explain what happened, she seems to get more and more disgusted by the situation. I finish explaining and turn back to Entitle Kid, who had tried to correct my story while I was explaining it to my mom, saying things like he punched me twice in the face and then kicked me in the nuts while I was crying on the ground. My mom is basically a bomb-sniffing dog for lies, so I can see from her face that she knows that's bullshit. I turn back to Entitle Kid. My mom, I'm sorry, but we don't do forgiveness gifts in this family. Entitle Mom, we do in this one. Entitle Kid, pick something out. Entitle Kid looked around and saw my PS4, and he points at it. Entitle Kid, Mommy, I want that. Keep in mind that this kid is just about a year younger than I am. Too old for mommy. Too old for this whole situation, in my opinion. Entitle Mom walks up to our door and sees it's my PS4. Entitle Mom, great, we'll take that as our gift. My mom, with steam billowing out of her ears, slams the door in their faces and quickly locks it. They start pounding on the door so hard that it sounds like they're trying to break it down. We leave the door, but they stay there pounding on the door for at least another 5 minutes before finally leaving. I still leave my neighbor's house anytime I see him walking down the block. That's the story. I understand that it was super long, may not be as high stakes or entertaining as some of the other stories here, but thanks for reading if you got this far. Let's hear from the comment section. Comment 1. Once you get older and past your volatile teenager years where you have to call your parents mother and father as a form of rebellion in order to stop other kids from teasing you, you realize you can call your parents whatever the fuck you want because whatever anyone else fucking thinks. I call my mom and dad either that or mommy and daddy, depending on my mood and the situation, with an occasional mother or father if I'm feeling sarcastic. I'm 37, by the way. Comment 2. Forgiveness gifts. Oh my god, this is the worst tidbit of parenting I've heard in a while. I can't believe someone thought of that and then tried to use it in a real-life scenario. Comment 3. I don't know why I'm still surprised by people's behavior, but holy shit, why? To make up a thing like forgiveness gifts is fucking amazing after he tried to choke you. Well done keeping your cool in front of EM. Comment 4. A forgiveness gift given by the last to apologize? That's not how it works, woman. By virtue of its name, the one forgiving the transgression would be the one to gift a gift, not the one apologizing. You apologized after him, so technically he is forgiving last. He's on the hook for a gift. They were looking for a gift as an apology. She needs to get her scam straight before trying to implement it. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to see more.